the first thing an artist has to realize is that art is dangerous.
It is.
It is. Because the artist is always the people that are looking to push the barriers, push the boundaries, start conversation, talk about things that are controversial. Even if you're not speaking it with your mouth, you're putting it through the art. Right?
You're listening to Skilling Me Softly, brought to you by MTI Barbados, the podcast where transformation takes center stage through skills, mindset shifts, and real stories. Each week, we sit down with everyday people doing extraordinary things, learners, dreamers, professionals, and change makers, all part of our mission to inspire every Barbadian to believe in greater personal possibilities through access of information, knowledge, and skills. Stay tuned.
You go
ahead.
I've been doing the intro the whole time. I was trying to get him to do yours because he knows you very well, but that's okay. We can start. All right. So today's episode is going to be very interesting. We have a very popular fashion designer who some of you probably know really well. She's from Bush Hall. And she's become very successful in her field. She's been designing for over 15 years, started at age 17, mixing and matching patterns, materials. And, now she has this wearable art, which everybody is after. And we all know how it is in the fashion world, right? Things can get a little crazy. And so she's going to share with us today all that's going on in her mind creatively, but also those traumas, those mental health issues, things we don't talk about. And she'll also share with us that hustle culture, what society really puts pressure on, and kind of just give us some insight on, what it's like to be, a creative, but also a human being and what that feels like. So today we want to welcome Gaynelder Grazette, also known as the Kudos-kid. Woo! We're so excited to have you.
Very excited.
And you and Darren know each other very well.
Yeah, we go way back actually. So Gaynell and I both grew up in the same neighborhood, Bush Hall. Very rough community. And when I see her story unfold, throughout time, it's been like, wow. I'm so proud of her, I always tell her, I'm so proud. Every time I see Gaynell, I always say, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so well. And her clothes and her work is just so fascinating. And she also is a creative as I am as well. So to see her thrive in the creative industry is really inspiring.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, and since you guys known each other, you guys grown up together. Tell us, again, a little bit about where did you grow up? How was your childhood? How was Bush Hall? Just to give us some insight.
So as Darren said, we grew up in Bush Hall, and we had to grow up fast.
Very fast.
You had to understand street culture early, common sense, because most people study book smarts, but in our, where we grew up, you got to definitely be smart otherwise. And I would say that even though that people would shed a negative light, I think knowing that side also is good for a good balance, because you basically become wise. You got wisdom beyond your years, So, but other than that, of course, we've seen some things, dead bodies, shootings, things that could definitely affect a creative. To recently was telling somebody one day that I think it was last year, a guy got shot out by us, and it was on the machine stitching, and they literally had to zone it out.
Oh my
so
goodness.
Imagine a dead body up the road and you got like that. So, and then we live close to the shooting range too.
Yeah, we live. I pretty much lived in the shooting range, and you weren't far from. So,
oh my
So
gosh,
it's like hearing them too,
that's so
it's
scary.
Yes.
yeah, you have no idea the things we've seen. But
Yes. So, but I think creativity is the freedom, because it's in the mind, and you get to create a space other than the environment you're in. And I think that was definitely saving grace.
So I'm interested to know, because for me, my creativity kind of gained more traction when I got a lot older and I left Barbados really. When did you? I know Chrissy mentioned that like 17.
Yeah.
I'm sure you had some creative for that.
Yeah, for sure. 17 was when I officially started my business. But before that, I used to dance, nifka. I wasn't, because I always was in everything.
Wow.
I told somebody recently I was on time to sing. I can't ever sing. That's one thing I would say my parents did for me. Give me every opportunity to figure out who I am from very early. Because I was in brownies, I was in netball, I was in swimming, I was in dance, I was
Wow.
in drama, I was in everything you could think about.
Shout out to the parents.
Yeah, and in that time, extracurricular activities were way more important than now, which I feel bad for this generation in a sense. Because it's kind of like watching social media. Everybody's trying to be somebody else, follow pattern trends. But it's I found out who it was from very, very early, and had a lot of confidence because I was in front of people dancing from really, really early. And problem solving. I was joking with somebody earlier about a time when I was at Oystings, and my little top, I remember dancing and it closed, and at that moment it was like, well, you got two options. You either stop, which the dance teachers always tell you don't stop, or you just do worse that people don't even see that part. And then when I finished, these two old girls come and they were like, oh my God, you dance so good. They might even take my top,
Wow, yeah.
So it's like you always was, and I think that a lot of that pays off. No, but being able to speak, being able to interact with people, never being afraid, always very, very brave. So yeah.
So one question I want to ask is, coming out in Bouchard as a female, and I mean I came out in Bouchard as a male, right? And that in itself was a challenge, but I know for sure,
Right.
walking the road as a female in Bouchard is a different story.
Right.
Like,
But at that time we had more of a code. So it was here because of my dad. You know how my father is.
Yeah.
He was only blood, but my father was always very, he's intellectual. The guys will come to him for certain things, problems, solutions. So I never really they actually was like big brothers to me. You know that really.
That's true.
I never really had that. I would say as a female, like really scared in my neighborhood, to be honest.
Right.
Your dad always struck me as one of the most intelligent men I ever met in Bouchard. Your dad is someone who would always be reading.
Exactly.
Your dad would hold
Education.
ideas. He would always be learning the latest thing.
Exactly.
Your dad always like that. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that he kind of gave that to you as well.
Yeah, definitely. Otherwise, not physical on a cellular level too, because sometimes your brain is like, I remember things that I don't think that from my generation. You know what I mean? So yeah, other days on that. But my father was always very into that, very into education, very into. My father told me something from young guys always say that no, it really pays off. But he said the TV is an idiot box. He always said that to me. And up to this day, as a big woman, I'm not a very TV person.
Yeah.
And now seeing the children locked into the screens, I'm so glad that I was more into books and drawing. I always used to be sketching. I always cutting dolly clothes. Always
Right.
I was wanting to. Right. My mother see me disappear. You don't gotta take mommy in a Vaseline or doing a jump. I inside the bedroom putting on makeup or making something in current or taking the cushions and creating a house. I was always like, super creative. Yeah. So
wow. So you always had that creative juice flowing. Just even in your environment, you can always make something out of something.
But it was always the escape. It was
Yeah. So you would say, going back to your dad, because he played a pretty pivotal role, right, in terms of education. And how would you say that really shaped the way you saw things? Because, it's different when you don't have that figure, especially a father figure as a girl too. How did he help shape the way you saw things?
That played a very integral role. Like my father instilled a lot of things in me from as a young female, and it would say that I would look around my environment and see what I don't want for myself. Instead of falling into the same line, because that's exactly what we see a lot of time. Generations of people doing the same thing over and over. Well, because my father would always have very adult conversations with me. I definitely was able to pick up from very young, okay, this is not what I wanted. If I would see, let me say the girls in my neighborhood getting babies early or whatever, be like, I don't want that. Controlling fertility is important. Necessarily like job ways, like my parents, even down to encouragement, like I never had a job.
Wow.
I just came straight from Polytechnic and started.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
I never worked for no
What
one.
an entrepreneur.
That is serious entrepreneurship right there. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow,
So I was
wow.
always, and then like as I say, my father was very into things like history.
Very much so.
So my father would carry me like on the bus on the Sundays. Boo boo, let me go. And I would get on the bus and we would just go and he would carry me to St. George Parish Church and telling me the stories. Cause one thing, my father got a memory like you can actually say him know what 1966 and he would go around rambling telling you this whole story.
He
But
is
his
very much
brain,
so.
yes,
Wow.
his brain is very.
I remember very well. Your father had like a. Your father could get the details to like the time of day and everything.
Yes.
He could quote like he could bring back. I remember this guy brought newspaper clippings from like I don't know, like the 60s and came and showed me one of them. Like, where's he putting this?
Yes.
He got a wealth of knowledge.
So I was like real grateful that as I got older,
Yeah.
and see how valuable it was. Like super grateful, and although like in fashion ways, because if you like people just see fashion as clothing, but when you really dive deep, fashion has done a lot in history
Yes.
itself. So even just being interested in that, it translates then into what I want to do now. And the the drive behind it, the story I want to tell,
Right.
is more from a deeper perspective, all because
Yeah.
I was always forced to think more deeply because my father would always, like if I ask him a question, he'd be like, "What you think?" I always step back and then he would kind of like guide me, but never like tell me what to think. I always was able to have my own opinions and stuff like that. So I think that was very important.
Yeah, especially growing up as a youngster, having your own opinion or the authority to make decisions on your own is really, really important in shaping a youth's life. And so that just makes me think about like education can be in different forms. It's not necessarily school.
Exactly.
You don't necessarily have to like go to the library and read a ton of books, but it can also be in, parenting as well. And so that form of education is what helped you to develop in the person you are today. And also your creative skills, right? Because you said you started thinking deeply, right? You think back to what your father would say and how he would think about things. So like, when you started your journey as an entrepreneur, which was like, I don't even know when.
And it's even before that, because I used to come, because we grew up how we grew up, we weren't fortunate. Like we grew up, poor. So I would come home on evenings and plait here. So even before I was doing designing, I was plaiting here because I'm also good at hair.
That's true.
Right.
I think you planned a couple times already.
Right, on evenings and days. So I was even entrepreneur before that.
That's true.
That's right.
But hair was never a love of mine. It was just one of the talents that I had. So I knew that it was just gonna do it for the time,
Right. Still finding different outlets to make money with whatever skill you had.
Exactly.
And that's the key. You don't have to like go to work. You just have to use what God had given you from the beginning and just kind of make your income on the side. And then whatever you're passionate about, you continue rolling with that.
Right.
So tell us more about then, this journey of being a fashion designer, right? Because yes, you started in Bush Hall. And then you really grew into doing international projects and people running after you, and you had to even stop for a whole 6 months or whatever it is to take a break.
And I want to know why you stopped. That's a big part.
Yeah. So tell us how that journey grew, and kind of share with us your mindset during those times as well.
Right. Okay. So as I say, when I started at 17, you're young, fresh eyes, no excited, understanding that you have to do it scared is like one of the key things that I had to learn early. And how I learned that was a lady that I went job attachment with, because Polytechnic has a program after you leave, they send you on job attachment, called Miss Webb. And a day she used to put me on people clothing. So a day I missed it, I cut open the center front of a shirt and I didn't want to show and they called she and she would take it right on my hand, cut open all the rest and show me and do this thing. And she was like, only body that knows is me and you. And she said, whatever you do, just have the confidence and understand that you got to correct it. And after that, I just start taking clients, getting picking everybody. People will come and be like, you can do this. Be like, of course. I don't know heads or tails, but it's like, I'm going to figure it out. You know what I mean? You say yes and you figure it out. And that was the confidence that I had. So obviously, sometimes you go through, you make mistakes, you have to learn, because I think one of the things that people don't understand about fashion and making clothing and why it's so hard, you might go to school and let me say you get a degree or whatever, you learn a certain set of things. Fashion and making clothing is so wide spectrum that you literally learn stuff every single day. So even though I've been stitching for all this time, I'm still learning every day, because it's always a first time for doing something in a particular sequence. You might stitch a sleeve, you might stitch a collar, but then when you create something, you ain't do it in that particular sequence yet. You know what I mean? So it's like every single day is a learning experience. You always have to be reteaching yourself, experimenting and stuff like that. So over the years, I've done costumes. I always used to run from school clothes and work clothes. Hated
It's
them.
boring.
Oh my
There's no creativity.
Exactly. And people don't understand, like, then you got imagination, like mine, like it's so hard to stay stifled, which is again the hustle culture. Because it's like you want the money, but then on the other side, people don't understand you're suffering while you are making these things.
Yes.
It's like separation.
Definitely feel that.
And as time passed and I dabbled into everything, it was like an elimination basis. Like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. Okay, I don't want to do this no more. And you started going to other stuff. But the major turn in my life was in 2021, the pandemic.
Yeah.
When I was like, obviously everything stopped, and the only thing I could do was mask.
Oh my goodness.
And it was going crazy. Like, I mean, like, I was losing it. And I was talking to God, and I was like, I know this cannot be the plans you have for my life. And I just heard this voice say, just shine. And I was like, what do you mean by shine? And the next day my mother walked in the room and brought a storybook. And she was like, you want this? And when it opened the book, it said, awarded to Gaynelder Grazette year 1997 to 98 for creativity. And in that moment, it just clicked, like, back to creativity. Like,
that's it.
Oh my goodness.
you know what I mean? So, because obviously I went BCC and all of this, but in 2013, when I left BCC, a friend of mine had died. And then I broke up from a 7-year relationship. So it was like it had a double whammy, and it just sent me in a different direction altogether. So I was like working, like doing things for cruise life, and you just, as you say, hustling. But in a sense, I was like doing it to keep my mind off of everything. That's the way you deal with the pain, just dive in. So it's like when I hit 2021, I was like, you fall so far from what was the vision for yourself. You know what I mean? And after I got the cue from God, basically, I started to walk. I didn't even know where I was walking going, but I just started following intuitively, which now my mother comes in, because my mother's super intuitive and taught me to always listen to that inner voice. So as I went on the road, and then one day just wake up and just could do a banana leaf dress. Like, literally, like, people don't understand. People ask me all the time, oh yeah, how you get to do? I can't really answer. Like, I can answer as I started to work on self. And I guess because I started to work on self and remove all the other things, it's like the beauty started to come from within. But it's like I cannot explain. It's like that's the thing about creators that people don't understand. Tonight you could go sleep not knowing something. Tomorrow you go.
That's so true.
You know, it's like a crazy thing. So then I got very curious about self. And then I did the foil. And then and then it was like, okay, this is a thing. And then at a point I hit a crossroads, which was 2023. I was like super confused because I was listening to this voice, because all this time it was like going through a spiritual journey where God was telling me like what to do. Was like directly like I isolated from everybody. You start to go through them journeys, you're changing, you're finding yourself changing, you're changing your friends, people that you didn't think you would lose, but it's like you frequency changing, you're changing the person you are, you manifesting different spaces. So all these things started changing my life. And I was like, but God, you give me this talent, but where does it fit? Because that's the thing about having something so unique. It's like it's a misfit. We live in Barbados, like could do a banana leaf dress, okay, but what's next? Where does this fit? What space does it go in?
Yeah.
Who is this for? because it's not for the average Bajan, obviously.
Yeah.
And I was super confused, and 2023 was a rough year. Rough year, mentally rough. Like, you don't know who to talk to. Ain't nobody like around you that you inspired by that even doing, because I basically became an anomaly. Ain't nobody else that doing that in Barbados. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what was it? So I found myself going in circles. I found myself at crossroads, just trying to figure out like, what do I do with this? And then I started to look at other spaces outside, because it was like I trying to push you in a direction, and God keeps saying, every time I run to God was with it, and he was like, just do art. And it was like, but what that mean? Like how? Because you always want to know the how.
Yeah.
And 2024 had a major, incident on Instagram, but what that did was went from confusion to clarity.
Interesting.
Everything became clear.
Yeah. Do you want to share more about it?
Yeah, I actually ended up messing up a wedding.
Oh, and we know how brides can be.
Well, it wasn't really just the braid, just the thing. It was the backlash of the people after, from the way I was suffering. And people don't understand when you're suppressed to the point where you are busting at the seams. It was like the only thing I could do was write, which is one of my things. I write, I dance, I just understand how to feed my soul, basically. And that was the way my inner voice said. It was like, you gotta tell it, and all the way tied to the prayer story. As I say, was going through a spiritual journey. So it was like, you don't understand it, you gotta share this thing, but it's like, to listen to that voice. And I did it, and I got a lot of backlash for, people like, well, you will come and say this, you whoop out the bride and da 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 da, and which I do understand, and of course I sympathize. Nobody wants to come and tell that.
Yeah.
No designer wants to come and say, hey, I messed up birthday party, or you messed up bride. Nobody. But I was to the point where it was busting at the seams. It was holding so much inside, like my body physically was feeling like it was gonna burst. And I had to do it. And when I did it in portrait, even though people were saying whatever to put me from blog pages, all kind of things, but what I felt after that release, like, I knew I had made the right decision, because we see all the time. Up to the other day, I see a video with this guy talking, and even though he was saying was true, he said, talk to God and tell God your problems. Don't tell nobody your problems. And that is exactly what is wrong with this culture. We so sweep everything under the rug.
Yeah.
Still back in the times when grandmothers and things going on in the family, and everybody keeping it hush hush, and you're teaching people to suppress.
Yeah, that's right.
Without realizing it. Because it's like, how dare you come and say this? You gotta pretend that, no, this is real life. This is things that happen, And a part of growing reality is that a lot of the children are gonna miss out on. A part of growing is making mistakes. How can you get it right if you do not get it wrong? You don't understand how important comfort is until you're uncomfortable.
It's true.
Everything is yin and yang. So it's like, you have to understand that these things is reality. It's like, you gonna drive down the road, but if you get in a car accident, you gotta be like, okay. Sometimes people get in car accidents. You know what I mean? You can't blame yourself and be like, oh yeah, accident, my car. Da, da, da. Like, I find that the culture we in now, especially with social media and all this perfection, it's almost like people want people to just be ready made. Just be ready made. Like, we are human.
It reminds me of the COVID-19 pandemic. Everyone was in a state of like just mental disarray because of just a sudden change, right? An abrupt change from their regular lives. And everyone was scrambling to figure out.
Hustle and bustle.
Yeah. Figure out, what am I going to do? How am I going to survive? What's the next thing? Right? But no one was thinking, I mean, some people were thinking, okay, this is a good time for me to just reset my life, and I think the people who
did
that, right, came out of it better people, right? And So that what you were saying there just remind me of that, especially the analogy of the car accident. This remind me of that. So, how did COVID affect you other than like how did COVID affect? Yeah, how did COVID?
Yeah, as I said, it was getting crazy because it was doing all the damn masks.
Yeah, you had to do what you had to do. In a sense, like you have to pivot with what's happening.
Right? But what it did is it really showed up how much time I wasted. In a sense.
Interesting.
Because as I say, I have strayed so far from the original plan.
Right.
As I said, I always wanted to be a fashion designer and stuff, but because of the culture of Barbados, again, hustle culture, when it came out to BCC, you know, you ain't got no rich parents to give you a big large capital to do nothing. So you gotta support yourself, pay school yourself, everything. And when I look back and see how hustle culture had me in a chokehold where I basically had a degree in fashion, understood fashion, but sat down as a seamstress from 2023 to 2021.
Wow, that must have been
because it's like you in
stifling.
the space, you're making money. Everybody want your stuff, but then you're tired as hell. Your body run down. You making things that really doesn't have a purpose behind it. It's just creating clothing, but the mindset is you're making money.
So why is that important? Having purpose behind things you actually want to do,
Because
instead of just making money.
Because when you realize that money isn't enough, I always say the only people that think that money brings happiness is people without. Because when you look at people with money, billionaires, millionaires, they going through the same exact thing all of we going through. If money was a fixer, they wouldn't be going through the same things we're going through. Right? So it's like in those times I was good, you know, could take care of self, everything. And I went right back into struggling because I flipped the script and I'm like, again, another direction. But I was more fulfilled because after money, and I sit down and realize not only in fashion itself, but my life. Like when I tell somebody first time I went Bathsheba was 2 years ago, they can't believe it.
I can't believe it now.
I am so
You never
shocked.
been to Bathsheba before that?
Not even on a picnic? What?
I literally, because I say start from young, you always
and
then you enter, everybody coming to you and saying, you realize that all these years passed, and it was like, but Gaynell, you wasn't living. So pandemic put me in that space where it was like clarity, like like all of this is what I was missing. You know what I mean? Like the real riches of life, which is the things I do now. So it's like even though you were making all the money yet that you want to make or that you was making previously, you're more fulfilled because now many mornings I used to jump up literally and go directly on the machine. Sometimes when I would call with me, drink tea, everything was just like. I know I could go to the beach or my sketch pad. Sometimes it's jump on the same bus like what my party used to do. And just go and free my mind. Got something to dance. Go botanical garden. You know what I mean?
Nice.
So now it's like you feel more like I get to breathe. I get to live a life. I get to let my brain do what it's supposed to do, which is work. Because I feel like even now in this culture and time with ChatGPT and all these things, it's like everybody seeing it as a guise as less work, but really actually you dumbing down the human. You dumbing down yourself as a human being, you know, in a sense.
So, so how do you now stay connected with your original why, right? When, like you said, there can be other demanding factors.
Right.
Where in the pandemic, you need to create a mask. You know, somebody else just needs something taken in. But like, how do you now, knowing what you know, how do you protect that space and now navigate that and make sure you're sticking to your plan, you know, regardless of what others may want you to do?
Might know how to be a full sentence. Know how to be a full sentence. So you know I lost people around me. You know I lost people around me.
You can start back from know how to be.
Know how to be a full sentence. You would know that obviously people don't like that. Because I found that the more inaccessible it became, the more weird people got in a sense, you know. But every business is not about inclusivity. Some is about exclusivity. Some is about, as I said, it became an anomaly. So it was like, this is what I'm good at. And instead of doing a whole range of things like what a seamstress does, I horn in on a niche market. And this is what I'm great at, and this is what I'm sticking to. You know, if you fall into there, if you do it, I can pass it on to somebody else. And they had to be very firm on that because a lot of people in Barbados don't understand the difference between a seamstress and a fashion designer.
What's the difference between a
We were talking
seamstress
about okay.
fashion designer?
Yeah, so you can tell us what's the difference between that actually, a seamstress and a
So
fashion
a
designer.
seamstress is more of the skill set of creating garments, right? So the wide spectrum of creating anything. You could obviously have a niche within that, but it's more surrounding just making garments. Fashion designing is more creating garments with a story, you know, telling a tale. Because a lot of things that people see when you're in fashion, it's always a backstory behind it. Because it's leaning more towards the artistic side, you know. So I always say fashion is a language. It speaks. Your clothing speaks for you before you speak. You know, when you walk into a room, even before you say anything, people always look at your attire and stuff like that. So the difference is, especially in my field, where because I don't like repetition. So I love customization, which is even harder because you got a lot of fashion designers might do a collection and what they put out there, who aligns, who like the dress, whatever. But for me, I literally cater it to the person. So I have to do research. I gotta look at body type. I gotta look at the person aura and the energy, you know, the personality, all these things. And then you're also involved in the styling and all the other stuff. So is more of an in-depth way of creating clothing because you're using it to speak a language. So that's the major difference. So a lot of people don't, and even like when people come to a fashion designer versus seamstress, a seamstress, you come in for a garment. From a fashion designer, you are getting more of a service because I have to be the person to go and shop for all the fabric, conceptualize from scratch, you know. And like people will come and talk to you today, and you talk to them 2 days later, and they come back. You got send for me yet? And I'm like, it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? Like they don't understand. Like you have to have time to actually think because I'm creating something from scratch. I'm innovating something, and then it's like I'm trying to give you something unique, which is not done. And fashion is something that we know it goes through eras over and over, like things that we wore, our parents wore, but it just come back. So the fashion designers challenged to put their own spin or twist on it to modernize it, but still, you know. So it's way harder than people think, and like you have to search for basically a particular kind of customer. One that understands patience, one that understands you have to let this person mind breathe. Because people don't know behind the scenes. I got to like go to the beach with my sketch pad. You know, you gotta find time to free the mind to come up with these things. So all of this is what you are paying for. So when you come to a designer, obviously you will understand you are not gonna pay the same money that you could to seamstress. So being able to go from one to the next, I had to basically alienate my entire clientele.
Wow.
Yeah. And you mentioned a few things that's really important because you said mind, right? And so mindset is very big in the creative world because everything that you are putting out there starts in your mind. So with the mental health issues or, you know, the things you've gone through, what people have said, how is all those things, how did it really affect your mind and your creativity? Because it's all going back into your mind. So then how did that stop your creativity, or tell me about that season?
As I say, I was going through a spiritual journey for the last 5 years. So I think when I got to that point, I was already at this place where I understood my mind was my heaven. Because I tell people like, heaven and hell is not a place, it's a mindset. So you have to be the person to decide what you let in here. Because as I say, creative mind is very well like people is like congratulate you and be like, oh, you're so creative and you think, you know, where you get these things from. But on the flip side, if I always say the people with the happiest smiles is also pretty saddest grace. Because everything is in yang yang. So when you think that I'm real pretty, understand that the dark is really dark.
Wow.
So therefore, what I do is I have learned how to censor myself. Even a girlfriend of mine was telling me, she was like, "You're so brave because you're so strong." Because I told her I didn't even read anything that people wrote. I didn't read anything. I knew certain things because somebody come and say, "Well, I see this," or whatever. But I refused to read anything. I refused to, even now, like when all the killing and thing going around, I don't be in group chats because I don't want to see them, their bodies. Like,
Right.
I come from a neighborhood where we see enough of that. And it does affect the mind. And as a creative, if you're going to put out, as I say, the beauty from within, then you have to create beauty here. So it's certain music, I don't watch certain things. I've learned how to censor myself to make sure what filters through so that what comes out is only what I want to come out. So you have to be very strong because it's, it's natural, especially in social media world, to always want to know. Even things like my algorithm, I post a lot of stories and people will message me and say, "You've got some real interesting stuff on your stories though," because I cater my algorithm to myself. So there's certain like blog pages that always talk and gossip and say, "Don't follow nothing like that."
Right.
Because I don't want to see those stuff,
What
So
you put in is what you're gonna put
it's
out.
what you put out. So I had to be very serious with all those things. It's like the stark difference between now and when I look back the last couple of years, the person I am today, I'm like, you
Wow.
made major progress. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your international work and what you've done, and tell me a little bit about wearable art and why wearable art.
I have, well, obviously separately, like customers finding anything that has the beauty about social media, and people don't realize how small it has made the world. You know what I mean? So shipping out stuff to clients and stuff like that has been, but my most recent international event was London Fashion Week.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
February.
great.
Wow.
Woo! That's big news.
That
Yeah,
is so
thank you.
great.
I'm so proud.
It was a great experience just being in a different space with creators that understand and really respect. Because I think that's what's lacking a lot in Barbados, respect for creatives.
You're right.
And yeah, people, I took my poppy dress because a part of, as I say, fashion is a language, and a part of having wearable art always tells a story. I heard a woman recently say, the first thing an artist has to realize is that art is dangerous.
It is.
It is. Because the artist is always the people that are looking to push the barriers, push the boundaries, start conversation, talk about things that are controversial. Even if you're not speaking it with your mouth, you're putting it through the art. Right? And so I was like, the poppy dress is relevant because, poppies are Britain and things. So that did very well. Everybody was like freaking out over this dress. So, yeah, just be able to experience finally, and stop thinking about just this small box that we're in, and starting to take myself into a place where, as you say, with the wearable art, sustainability is something. Obviously, it was hit to it from 2021 when they did the banana leaf dress, but I've fallen in love with it more so about what it represents. Coming from, as I say, I had to basically make a 180 to the person I was, because coming from hustle culture, I was basically stuck in fast fashion world.
Right.
Doing clothes without any meaning and stuff like that, and then to come to slow fashion now, where I told somebody I talk about that in the diaries, where I had a record of 15 things in one day.
Oh wow.
What? A Hennessy artistry. I don't know how I get this to.
Wow.
15 outfits in one. And now I want to create something that takes me an entire year.
Oh my goodness.
15. Oh, back to that. 15 outfits in one day. I can't even imagine
You
what that
imagine
looks
That's
at
like
the
1
end,
hour
how it was. Like,
per outfit. 1 hour per outfit.
yes, it was crazy. Like,
Imagine a time lapse of that.
no, not only time, like the things I had to do. Like, you want to pass water, you're holding your pee. You
Oh
don't
my
eat.
gosh.
I'm telling you, it used to be crazy because the demand was so high, and you're hustling, get into this hustling thing. Many money. But now I on a whole different journey where I love making things that I commit for 3 months.
I love
3
it.
weeks, months, because it's like more intentional, more meaningful, you know, more fulfilling. So that's where I am with the sustainability, where I bring attention to the topic, create awareness, you know.
I love it.
Be the conversation starter and stuff like that. Where it's definitely art more than clothes.
Oh, I love it. I love it. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And so that's really good because there's a lot of misconception around hustling, right?
Oh my God.
So there's a lot of people that, you know, they thrive on hustle and they just want to hustle because that's their way of becoming successful. But you can tell us firsthand, you've been telling us throughout this whole journey. What would you say now to these people, even people you know? I'm sure you know many people who are still hustling. You know, what would you say to them now regarding hustle culture? And, you know, if they were to make that switch, what would that feel like for them?
Right. First thing, I feel lost. Because coming from a background where we're poor, it's natural to learn how to hustle.
Yeah.
Me and the guy was talking about that recently. Like, our generation was taught to hustle. You know what I mean? That was the be all. But then when you, as we said, the pandemic put you to sit down and you start to think bigger, you realize you're one person. Then you gotta start thinking, and then you're getting older. If you're gonna be realistic, you know, you might be thinking about family. You might be thinking about, you gotta think about things like generational wealth and stuff like that. Hustle culture cannot bring those things.
Nah.
You know?
Actually, it could limit you from doing that because you can be hustling and do the wrong thing and end up in jail, prison, or dead.
And then the money always, hustle money is like quick, it filters out faster.
Yeah.
But it's like when me not doing slow fashion, I have bookings 6 months in advance. You know what I mean? Where I could like really like strategically say this is how you can spend my money, budget, you know, put yourself in a instance where you don't have to cram everything in one time and stuff like that. So you get to live more. You know, you get to explore who you are, and funny enough, is, as I said, the less is more. When I decided to horn in on the niche and decided that this is what I was gonna do and started to think larger, obviously the larger sums of money start to come. But it just felt larger at life. You know what I mean? You start to dream bigger. And as I always say, when you dream big, dream even bigger than that. And I think that is the difference between the hustle culture and really slowing down. And it really, you know the saying, when you ask God for strength, He doesn't give you strength. He gives you something that you have no reason but to be strong. I asked God for a slow life because I wanted to do slow fashion. And in order to do slow fashion, my life itself had to slow down. So I would say I was in a space where I was being taught immense patience.
Wow.
Like, I just following this journey, all the things intuitively, but it was like nothing was significant was happening because I had to wait. You know? And in that way, I really found what I wanted to do. I really, because fashion, as you know, because I hear that you study fashion.
I don't know where you heard that.
Yes. It's true. It's true.
Fashion, as you know, like, because the spectrum is so wide, you could be a fashion designer and still not necessarily know what kind of fashion designer you want to be.
Right.
But for me, I feel so good that I met my mind from 14 years old that I was going to be a fashion designer, and I finally have it pinned down where I could say I'm a wearable art designer. Like, this is it.
Wow.
That's success right there.
I know.
That is truly, truly success.
I know. Like, I sometimes just be like, you make it, you get there.
Yes, you did.
know?
And you did that by realizing that you needed to stop that hustle culture, right? So it starts by recognizing, and then after you recognize it, what else do you need to do afterwards, right? So once you recognize it, what is the other process for somebody who wants to get out? Somebody says, I want to get out this hustle culture.
Right. The truth is, you have to be honest with yourself about the sacrifice. I had to, as I say, go right back down to making little. because I had to realize that as I see mind, body, and spirit, you know, and because even with my body, I've been so many different sizes for the last 5 years.
Wow.
People would see me all tell you lose it, and you're not Bajans. Oh my god! First thing that's a greeting. Like
You get fat.
yeah, and small. You know,
Get
like
small.
I'm like nobody that's slim wants to be slimmer. Something is wrong.
True. Yeah.
You know, but it's like you just. So even that, I think all of that is a journey of just accepting, and the more authentic you become, you just accept yourself and follow its journey. But you do your mind and soul first, your body will always catch up. You know what I mean? Because you can always go in gym, whatever. But the mind and the soul first, you have to decide health and slowing down comes before the money. That's the reality. That's how I had to do it first. Because you got to release all you have in order to get more. If I want to have $5,000 clients, I gotta release the $500 one.
That's good.
So in terms of learning now this because this is a new thing for you.
Yes,
So
very new.
this wearable art and learning how to create wearable art
Pieces,
with eco-friendly materials, right? Where did you learn this from? Is it something you just experimenting
So you
with?
just get on one day and could make a banana dress. Like that's literally how it happened. But as I became curious and diving into, as you know, healing and stuff, you're nurturing the inner child, and the child is the most creative. So basically, I saw people when they creating, I'm not my age. When they create, I'm like 7,
Wow.
10, and 12.
Love
you
that.
know,
Going back to your inner child,
Yeah.
very important.
exactly. So when I started becoming that little girl again, that used to always, as they say, be in the bedroom doing your hair, doing this, my brother can't find me doing little dolly clothes, and got really curious about it. Funny enough, too, I would say you kind of like be forced into it living in Barbados because the field is so limited that my creative mind was like, you're going to find other things to use. You know?
That's true.
Because we only got basically 3 fabric stores. And they're too still limited. So I started to go shop now and sass and make things with the placemats and this and that.
Oh my
I
goodness.
saw you made something out of
Plates. I was so impressed.
Paper
plates.
I was like, what?
Not just something.
Yeah.
A costume.
A whole entire costume with its wings.
Yeah.
Do you know people who can make wings out of a paper plate?
And the meticulous efforts that you did to make that out.
Right.
But also the quality. Like when you see the end result, you would never think it's paper plate.
That is exactly where I think that, because they say being an anomaly is like you figure out what is your niche and you be great at it. So I realized not only could I make things unconventionally, but I made them in a way that they are very high fashion. They are very, exquisite. That you got guess. Like sometimes when they tell people what things make, it's like even the banana leaf dress, it's got like zoom it and people like,
exactly.
like so meticulous. Because I mean, I see other people on the net doing things with these too and stuff, but it's always give me like Tarzan and Jim. But
True.
real,
It's not wearable like every day or
but
wearable
it's like
art.
things I do. Like when people see me sitting down with the fall paper dress, I was like freaking out. Like foil so delicate. How you get to?
It's true. And sharp.
That's exactly what I'm very particular on, like making sure that I can wear it for real. That is not just for a photo shoot or whatever. Like you can wear this thing if I had to go to event or whatever. But I've always been very meticulous, very perfectionist. Like, but I think since I've been on this journey, I'm trying not to be.
Right.
Because I think that is a kind of like a bad thing in a sense. It could be. Because to be perfect is to be going away from your humanness.
Yeah.
To be human is to make me say it. So
well said.
yeah.
That's
so
well
what's
said.
what's the next biggest thing for Gaynell?
Well, I have something coming up later in the year. Can't say.
Can't say.
I can't say. But what's next for me is continuing to frequent spaces that are for me, basically. I want to also get into art installation. That's another part of my business that I also, because it's like not only for bodies, but because it's very artistic. Display wise is where is that as well.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. And all of this came out of you, going through this huge journey, understanding who you are deep down inside, being okay with not being okay.
Yes.
And giving yourself grace to recover, slow down, and realize, okay, I don't need to hustle. Money is not the goal,
Right.
but being passionate and loving what you do, protecting your space and mind,
And do it for you.
and do it for you.
Because social media does very well have I would say expectation on you. You know, people would see me all the time and be like, I see a name for you. Because I really, as I say, with the 2023 was the confusion year, so it basically disappear. So people see me all the time and be like, I see nothing and thing. But you have to really like come out to that where you realize you, even though it's displaying for people, it is for you. So I no longer feel pressured. I no longer feel like it's a race to keep up views or anything. Whatever I put there is just what me showcasing who I am as a creative and expressing myself.
That's
That's
beautiful.
great.
And I wanted to ask you about the diaries that you're doing. What sparked that?
The journey I got, a part of having a lot of talents is coming to school, they always teach you one thing, focus on this one thing. But the more I dive into the fact that I'm very multi-talented, God came and was like, but you using the one that you're not using the one they want you to use the most, which is your voice. And I've grown. So I talked about this in diaries. So I think I had a insecurity in using my voice because coming to school, the teachers is always like, Gaynelder's a brilliant student, but she's so talkative on my report. Every year, religiously.
Oh my goodness.
But it was like, looking back, I'm happy no, because it was like, I never confirmed. Clearly, I was still yapping because it was primary school to secondary school. But it was like, who taught the time to listen? You know, I always thought I just was talking things that the normal child wasn't talking about, I guess, at that time. You know, and you learn to kind of like dumb down yourself in a sense. You know, because I was always very outspoken, and I found that like as time went along, I just grew like I will always speak through my art, the artistic way, but to actually sit down like hold me here saying, no, I want to do this.
Wow.
Yeah, that's why I tell people like when I started diaries for the whole thing with the writing and stuff, I did it the way I knew, which was poetry. You know, and I guess to people it might have seemed fake, but to me it was a realistic because I'm more natural. That's more natural for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
But it's like as God keep telling me, no, you have a powerful voice, you have wisdom, and people need to hear your story. And I was like, okay, well, the story must continue regardless of what people think. You know? And I just did it on cue a day. I was like Gaynelder Beach and everything just flowed. And I recorded it, and it was just time to, just finish. Because as you see, I spoke and then I went back and released the ones from 2023 because I did was like obedient to what God said, but then I didn't have the courage to. So that sat down and come on for 2 years.
Wow.
Right.
Until it was commanded, well, you must complete.
Yeah.
You know, and I did, and I'm glad I went through that journey because resilience is everything.
That's great. That's very good. So as we close out, right, I want to give you a chance to also just share with some young Barbadians, right, what you know now, right, this journey you've been on. Those who are struggling with mental health and still trying to figure out their way, what are some things you can share with them so that they can be at ease, they can feel encouraged, and just so that they know this is something that everybody goes through.
Right.
So share with them some advice, some tips, or anything to keep them encouraged.
Right. I would say that we have a very much a stigma on speaking to people. Therapy. If you need to do therapy, it's okay to trust somebody else. You don't have to keep everything inside, as I say, because suppression is very dangerous. Holding things inside is very dangerous. We see people have mental breakdowns all the time. Sometimes we see people stripping. We had the instances where we see people walking naked on the street, and I think that's when it got to the point where you tip. So you have to, understand when your body's too full, basically. You know, when the suit get too full, you got to unpack it. So you need to figure out somebody to talk to. I myself did a holistic program, as I mentioned, with y'all, learning how to balance chakras, learning how to breathe. And these things seem very frivolous, but they really help. Journal. As I say, if you have something else to fall back on, things like even the gym is good for mental health, exercising. But most importantly, recognizing is the first part.
That's true.
You know, being honest with self, knowing that, saying, yeah, I am not okay. You know, I think that we in, as I said, in this society is very pushed under the rug and tell you to don't tell nobody and pretend that things are not going on. But then when it spill out, then what happens? Everybody knows that something was happening. So it's better to get in front of it. There are other free counseling programs as well that you can seek out. And anybody that's super trusted, I would say maybe your pastor, you know, maybe your teacher, because a lot of younger people too as well, tutors are going through stuff and they don't know who to turn to. They might just talk to their friends, but you may have a father figure. And one time in the community, we had like uncle father figures, you know, and it changed so much. But releasing is very, very, very important. Expression is very, very important. It doesn't have to look how anybody thinks it has to look.
Exactly.
You are the only body that can feel what's going on inside of you. So I am big on expressing, and I think that that's something that we all should do. Learn how to express. You know?
Yeah, wonderful.
Very well
And also, sometimes people are shy and they don't want to say anything, like you said. There's also so many resources online, right? You can just start with what you know,
Right.
but the key is to just start. Go look up how you're feeling, see what other people are saying. You know, if you need to go on TikTok, YouTube, take a course, whatever it is just start.
Right.
And then you'll be guided from there.
Yes.
So thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
And
Gaynell.
I appreciate you sharing all this beautiful stuff. I feel like I could go forever. You have so many great things happening, and I'm so proud of you. Darren's so proud of you.
Very much so.
You're such a wonderful designer, the best that I know in Barbados. You know, I definitely see you out there internationally. And like you said, you know, you're one of a kind.
Anomaly.
Thank
Yes,
you.
you're one of a kind, and the things you do, wow, you can make anything happen. So I appreciate you. We love you. Take care. And we'll see you again on another episode.
Maybe we'll see what's happening at the end of the year.
Yes, soon.
Yes.
I can't let the county back.